You mentioned you mentioned before Brian and Burmo was a bit of a saga. Well, Arsenal fans are now saying this is a little bit of a saga, isn't it? Because
I mean,
what's the hold up here? The big chunk of the fee has been agreed. So why is it taking so long to get this last bit done?
Not so much Gyökeres on its own a saga. I think you could class the fact that Arsenal have been looking for a striker for a few windows now as a saga. With regard to Gyökeres, Arsenal are finalising that deal now. It's understood the details on the conditions attached to the add-ons. That's what's being discussed just at this moment in time. So there's a £55 million initial fee that has been agreed with a further £8.5 million in performance-related add-ons. And it's those add-ons and how they're paid and how achievable they are is where these discussions are being centred on. Gyökeres playing some part in the club's pre-season tour. That can't be ruled out at the moment. Will he fly out with them tomorrow?
On Saturday, aren't they?
That doesn't look likely at this stage because it hasn't fully been agreed. But him playing some part in the tour hasn't been ruled out. As you said, they fly out tomorrow. But with regard to Gyökeres...
Should Arsenal fans be worried that this deal might not happen?
I don't think so, no. There's no information that I've been given that would suggest that there should be a worry here. All of the worries and the concerns were in the past couple of weeks when there was such... It was so unsavoury between Gyökeres and Sporting Lisbon. He thought he could leave for less than £60 million. The president was very public in saying there's no way he's leaving for less than £60 million. And in the end, Arsenal have struck a deal where probably they're happy with the amount they're paying, even though it's less than probably what Sporting wanted. But Sporting have got the benefit of the fact that Gyökeres' representatives have waived their fees. Hence why everybody, club-wise, looks like they've got what they want within this deal, which is £55 million plus £8.5 million in add-ons. So around £63.5 to £64 million is what this deal will take in total. I think it is a case at the moment of when and not if Gyökeres will officially become an Arsenal player.
Did you want to come in there? You're just looking at me.
I love Victor Gyökeres. I've said it on this show so many times. I might even go as far as to say I could see him getting 30 goals in his first season at Arsenal.
Really?
I watched him at Coventry. I was aware of him at Brighton. I think his physicality is sensational. I think he's just proven that he's a goal machine in the last 2 seasons in Portugal. I think he is the missing piece that Arsenal fans have been crying out for. I think they'll love him, and I can't wait to see him in the Premier League, just waiting for the deal to get done.
It's fascinating to see how he does, even if you're not an Arsenal fan, just to see how he copes with that step up in level, because it feels like he's been wanting it for a long time and building up to it. Today, and Burma, we think, might happen fairly soon. But this one is official now. Darmish, you kick us off, and then Mark, you can chip in on this as well. Noni Madueke to Arsenal is done. And it's always... We've been talking about this for a few days now, haven't we?
We have, and it's no surprise, Arsenal announced this at 5 o'clock this afternoon, that Noni Madueke from Chelsea has arrived. He's signed a long-term contract. We understand that contract is 5 years. Just a reminder of that deal, it's in total worth £52 million. So Arsenal will pay Chelsea £48.5 million in an initial payment or a fixed fee, plus a further £3.5 million in performance-related add-ons. He was at Chelsea for 2.5 seasons. Chelsea bought him from PSV Eindhoven for £29 million. So if he was to fulfil all of these conditions, Chelsea would make around £23 million on the Noni Madueke deal. Now, just an interesting point moving forward, Arsenal fly out to Asia tomorrow for their pre-season tour. Noni Madueke, we are told, will not be part of that squad. That's because at the end of the season, of course, he was still with Chelsea, and he played a part in their FIFA Club World Cup. So hence he's been given a little bit of extra time off before he rejoins the Arsenal squad, we think in early August. Just on the deal itself, this is another example of the moves that the new sporting director, Andrea Berta, is making. They've already made now 4 signings that have been announced. There are more to come as well. So he was key in those negotiations, as you'd expect. And also key in the negotiations was Mikel Arteta, in particular with the talks he had with the player. To convince the player, this is where I see you, this is where I want you to be. So Noni Madueke officially now an Arsenal player.
Mark, where does Madueke fit in to this Arsenal squad, this Arsenal team? Does he make the strongest starting 11?
Well, it depends how you look at it, and ultimately Mikel Arteta can answer that question. I think one of the key things that we do know, and one of the reasons why Arsenal targeted Noni Madueke, is his versatility. He can play in multiple positions across the front line, which is something that's hugely important. Andrea Berta, the sporting director, has been a big fan of his for some time as well, and he was a driving force in getting the deal over the line. We also know that Noni Madueke is that sort of right-sided player with a left foot. So whilst Bukayo Saka was injured for a chunk of last season, Arsenal had lost that spark that he brought to the side, and therefore they brought someone in who can essentially play, but also provide that little bit of something different if Bukayo Saka were to get injured for the forthcoming season. He's 23 years old. He's already got 170-plus appearances under his belt for a club, so that's a massive thing as well. He's got that experience. He had 27 starts in the Premier League for Chelsea last season as well, so he understands the level. He knows what the Premier League's all about. Obviously, he's worked his way into that England setup, and for him personally, he's going back home. He started his career at Tottenham Hotspur when he was a youngster, so therefore, you've got someone who's from around North London. So anytime you get the opportunity to go back home and be where you grew up is never a bad thing, and that's why this probably just fits for both Arsenal and Noni Madueke. When you look at the stats as well from him last season, he was effective. We've got a comparison here. Obviously, Tottenham have been in the market to sign a new winger. They went for Mohamed Kudus of West Ham, and obviously Madueke now at Arsenal. And obviously both very similar with the price tag, 52 and 55 million. And then when you look at the output from Noni Madueke, obviously both with 32 appearances, a couple more goals for Noni over Mohamed Kudus. The assists very similar, big chances created, and Jules one very different. So very different profile of player in one respect, but you can see the numbers stack up there. It'd be interesting to see if we're sat here in 12 months' time saying which one of those two players has been the most effective for their respective clubs. But it certainly looks like a really smart and sensible piece of business from Mikel Arteta.
What is interesting is the price as well, because more and more you see clubs, when they value a player and how much they want for a player when they sell them, they look at the market and how other players have been valued. So, for example, Mark mentioned it there, the comparison between Kudus and Madueke, around the same price tag, 55 million for Kudus, 52 for Madueke. Anthony Elanga was almost an identical price as Noni Madueke. So Chelsea will go into the market. If Arsenal say we want to pay this much, Chelsea could turn around and say, well, actually, he started this many games in the Premier League last season. Anthony Elanga has gone for this much money. Kudus is valued at this price. So this is how we're going to base our pricing on Noni Madueke. And Arsenal had to say, well, that's actually fair, because we would probably have done the same thing.
Yeah. And it means that we, at the end of the season, or the end of their time there, we can compare them quite